Madison is often ranked as one of the #1 places to live of all cities in the country. And the question that we always ask is, who is it the best place to live for?
In 2006, Wisconsin was named the worst place for Black people to live in the United States. That was the first time I heard that.
College town of Madison, Wisconsin is not the sort of place that leaps to mind when it comes to the discussion of racial disparities. But the gap between Black and white residents in Madison's Dane County are, according to recent reports, more extreme than most other jurisdictions in the nation.
The systems that we have in place have a history, and those histories advantaged some folks and disadvantaged other folks.
Incarceration rates is true, housing, employment.
Now there's a new effort to find ways to bridge that gap.
Well, I thought what became justified anger would become a moment when I was sitting with Alex in a coffee shop on Park Street, and he told me the story of some racial profiling that had occurred to him, and we decided for him to write a cover essay that we'd publish in the Capital Times that would become Justified Anger based on the headline.
We are ground zero for so many issues, particularly those concerning African American men. 650 people poured in. They filled this place. There was standing room only. We had 150 people.
In the original Justified Anger article that came out in 2013, one of the biggest calls to action was to say that in order to find solution to our vast racial disparities, that Black people had to be not just at the table, not just invited to the table, but there had to be room for that table to be built and set. So in other words, the rest of us should follow along and listen.
Our Madison Plan did, with Alex inviting us all together, like, is there something we could do to make this a thing for Madison? So it's not just us changing things individually in all these different places, but us coming together to build up a space for African Americans in this community to have a voice, have a say, and thrive.
Justified Anger, in the preparation of our Madison Plan framework, really focused on, talking to all people in the city, but really asking those careful questions to Black community members, providing space where voices can be heard, and providing a forum where voices can be amplified and laid out in a way that the rest of the city can hear it.
I think that it is incredibly valuable to have spaces where we can have these kinds of conversations.
People don't know where to plug in, they don't know where to learn, they don't know how to educate themselves. And I love that this is not done in a vacuum. Thoughts, ideas are challenged, are shared, and I think that's where growth really happens. Within the discussion, within building relationships.
It's about creating a framework under which all sorts of people can feel comfortable and engaged and heard.
In the plan, we had 5 focus areas that were economic development, criminal justice, family and community wellness, education, and leadership and capacity development. We figured out very quickly that really leadership and capacity development was infused through all of these things. So in other words, training up leaders to be more present and visible in finding solutions and leading solutions, and then also developing capacities for small businesses, particularly for nonprofits, Black-led nonprofits that generally don't see as much funding as other nonprofits see.
It culminated sometime later at the Alliant Energy Center when we had an overflow crowd to present the Our Madison Plan.
When the Our Madison Plan was being created and written, and when it came out, it was one of the first times we had a framework that was created by the Black community, by Black leaders. We had hundreds of Black community members from all different demographics speaking into what they wanted to see to make lasting change for the future.
I remember that night at the Alliant Energy Center, I was stunned by the turnout, I was stunned by the electricity in the room. I was impressed by the collection of essentially every notable Black leader in the community, all on one stage at one time. So I thought it was a special evening, and one that's been kind of unlike any I've seen.
When we had the rollout for the Our Madison Plan framework and saw those 1,000 people all gathered to hear what this framework would be and asking about how they could participate and how they could be part of the plan. It was really moving and inspiring experience, and not something that I'd really ever seen happen before.
Catapulted, I think, into the community's consciousness.
Justified anger and the Our Madison Plan was a really big deal for our city overall. Suddenly we have this conversation where Black leaders set the table, set the agenda, defined the problems, and laid out the solutions to the problems. And people from all different sectors, all different socioeconomic levels in the city were coming together to figure out how we can do better.
You know, we can all have our own individual ideas, but when a community gets behind them, that's when you start to see things really start to grow and flourish. And that's what the Our Madison Plan has helped us do.
During the implementation of the Our Madison Plan framework, one of the things that we've really tried to do at Nehemiah is help primarily white community members who are aspiring to be allies in the fight for racial justice to understand that they're not just doing this work to help someone else, but they're doing this work to help make their lives better and to help make their lives more full. And so one of the ways that we do that is through our history class, Black History for a New Day, where people learn about our United States history and how very systematically throughout time we have built up white people and white communities and oppressed and disadvantaged Black communities in particular.
I love being a part of Black History for a New Day because I really get to focus on the impact of generational trauma on Black women and girls.
My work with Dr. G and Black History for a New Day has also led to things that I thought that I'd never be doing. Engaging in public history on a level and an intensity that I had never really anticipated as an academic.
Every one of the white folks who's taken that course brings away something and then becomes a bit of an ambassador for a deeper understanding of Black culture and how Black people feel in Madison.
Dr. G and I were asked to do trainings for district court judges all over the state of Wisconsin, as well as their staff.
One of the biggest sources of hope is looking at what's happening on South Park Street in Madison. So, you know, we've got Madison College that has a campus in South Madison.
Look at the Center for Black Excellence that's being built.
The Black Business Hub that the Urban League of Greater Madison has opened up.
But look at what's happening with Centro Hispano, and look at what Will Green's doing over there on the east side of Madison. Stuff is happening all over the community.
These are things that the South Madison community and Black community members overall have been talking about developing the south side of Madison for decades. And just in the last 10 years, we've seen these huge capital projects start to develop and actually come to fruition. That gives me a lot of hope. You know, in my opinion, one of the big catalytic events that led to, you know, what's happening with Justified Anger and the Our Madison Plan is looking at Kaleem Care and One City School.
One City, although, you know, was an effort that, you know, predated the Our Madison Plan, the Our Madison Plan gave it context for how we all work together.
And of course, with Kaleem's, you know, really hard work and effort, it's now thriving and expanding, and that gives me a lot of hope.
Lisa Payton Care, what she's doing with the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness. There's a lot of things that have grown out of that are helping not just our community, but communities around the country.
This was an initiative that started with, you know, basically a day where people would get together to learn about issues related to health and Black women. And now she's running a, you know, $1 million foundation that's reaching people across the state, that's really addressing specific issues that have been ignored for a really long time about Black women, infant mortality, mental health and wellness, and then just general support and leadership for Black women in Madison and beyond.
And we were all very proud of what those meetings and that idea manifested.
If anyone in our community, in our society is suffering, every single one of us is suffering as well. We're not getting the most out of the money that we're spending. We're not getting the best result for the good ideas that come up. And we're not getting the best ideas because we're not hearing all the ideas.
All the work that has been done by everyone involved in the Our Madison Plan, I believe, has made Madison ground central for the type of change that African Americans can drive with the support of the rest of the community. If everyone works together, we will get behind us and our ideas.
One of the biggest ways that people can drive these issues forward and create change is by asking the people who make the decisions in our city, in our county, in our state, letting them know what's important to them. So the more people that talk about wanting to see our whole community succeed, the easier it will be to get our elected officials to listen and for us to have solutions implemented that are really going to make change.
If you really want to know if we are there yet, we must band together and boldly declare it. Though things may be grim, they're not in irrepair yet. Let's extend our hands to families ensnared yet. These are all our sons and daughters. Of course we're not there yet.
We're looking back over the past 10 years to really understand the impact of our systems change work that has been done across the greater Madison area. We're doing that so we can remove the shadow of uncertainty and chart a course forward so we know how to act and how to be connected. Because not only are we empowering the Black community with the work and the work that others have done, but we're redesigning systems and really helping people to reimagine what Madison could be and what our world could be if we all work together for the benefit of all.